Imagine stepping into a room and feeling your shoulders loosen, your breath deepen, your mind open. Beat. In The Architecture of Happiness, philosopher-writer Alain de Botton invites us to notice how buildings quietly choreograph those inner shifts, and how, by decoding their language, we might design surroundings that help us flourish. How walls speak. The emotional script of buildings. De Botton opens with a disarmingly simple question. Why do some places make us feel alive while others drain us? Beat. He argues that architecture is an externalized form of our ideals. Every cornice and corridor carries an emotional script. Beat. To read that script, we must tune into the subtle dialogue between material, proportion, and light. Beat. Picture the hushed reverence of a Gothic cathedral. Stone ribs soaring beyond sight, daylight sieved through stained glass. Beat. The vertical thrust tells a story of aspiration, of reaching beyond the mundane. In contrast, a low-ceilinged basement murmurs of confinement. Beat. De Botton threads anecdotes from Chartres to Le Corbusier, showing how architects translate intangible longings, emphasis, serenity, power, belonging, into wood, glass, and steel. Beat. Yet he cautions that our responses are rarely universal. Culture and memory sculpt perception. Beat. A minimalist Japanese tea house may soothe one visitor, even as it unnerves another, raised amid Baroque abundance. Beat. By foregrounding feeling over technical jargon, de Botton reframes architecture as everyday psychology we can all grasp. Beat. He invites us to pause at a doorway, trace the handle's curve, notice how the threshold sets the mood. In doing so, we rediscover that our environment is not backdrop, but co-author of experience. Beauty, style, and the weight of cultural memory. Having attuned our senses, de Botton tackles the vexed notion of beauty. Beat. Why do fashions shift, and why do we quarrel over style? Beat. He explains that what each era calls beautiful is a coded wish list of the virtues it feels missing. Beat. The ancient Greeks pursued harmony to counter civic instability, Victorian facades brimmed with ornament to resist an impersonal industrial age. Beat. Today's glass towers, sleek and unadorned, broadcast aspirations to transparency and efficiency. Yet they can also radiate chill. Beat. De Botton weaves art historical snapshots with wry observations from airports and council estates, showing how shared tastes crystallize into a collective conscience. Beat. But he rejects relativism's easy shrug. Some buildings do succeed better than others at sustaining human wholeness. Beat. Criteria, such as balance, emphasis, rationality, tempered by warmth and coherence without monotony, emerge as signposts. Beat. He likens a well-composed facade to a paragraph whose grammar, rhythm, and surprises keep us reading. Beat. When architects ignore this grammar, pursuing grandiosity or gimmick, the result is alienation. Beat. Yet even failed structures teach. By studying why a windswept plaza repels us, we refine our sense of what nurtures us. Beat. Beauty, then, is not a luxury add-on, it is psychological nutrition. Home ground, ethics, intimacy, and the everyday. Turning from public monuments to private rooms, de Botton zeroes in on the domestic sphere, where architecture most directly shapes daily conduct. Beat. A front door can declare welcome or mistrust. A kitchen layout can encourage conviviality or isolate the cook. Beat. He recounts how modernist pioneers sought ethical purity, flat roofs, white walls, honest materials, to cleanse society of bourgeois clutter. Beat. Yet many modernist homes soon felt austere, revealing a gap between intellectual ideals and lived comfort. Beat. De Botton proposes a middle path, spaces that marry clarity with tenderness. Beat. He tours a rustic Swiss chalet whose weathered beams whisper continuity, and a modest Paris apartment where mismatched chairs invite lingering conversation. Beat. What these homes share is an attentive calibration of scale, texture, and light to human rituals: waking, bathing, sharing meals. Beat. The lesson is subtle but radical. By curating our surroundings, we rehearse virtues we hope to cultivate: grace, order, playful curiosity. Beat. Conversely, neglect breeds resignation. A peeling hallway can dim our aspirations. Beat. Here architecture crosses into ethics. Every renovation is a moral vote for the kind of life we deem possible. Beat. By elevating the humble act of arranging a desk beside a sunlit window, de Botton reminds us that emphasis.home is the first school of happiness, designing futures towards a more uplifting built world. In his final movement, de Botton asks how societies might generalize these insights to craft cities that sustain collective well-being. Beat. He critiques the binary of heritage versus progress, arguing that reverence for the past need not fossilize innovation. Beat. Instead, he envisions an architectural culture fluent in dialogue, where a glass addition can respectfully hug a brick warehouse, or a community garden can reclaim a derelict lot. Beat. The key is empathy, a willingness to imagine how a facade will meet the pedestrian gaze at 7 a.m. on a rainy commute. Beat. De Botton offers case studies from Barcelona's superblocks to Bogotá's library parks, where policy, design, and citizen engagement converge. Beat. He praises participatory charrettes that invite residents to voice hopes before blueprints harden. Beat. Technology, too, becomes ally. Virtual models let us walk a square before pouring concrete, testing how sun angles and soundscapes feel. Beat. Yet he warns against techno-utopianism. Without moral intent, smart cities may merely optimize efficiency, not joy. Beat. Ultimately, the destiny of our skylines hinges on a renaissance of emphasis uprising empathy, where planners, politicians, and occupants alike treat each brick as an ethical act. Beat. By making space for beauty in budgets and bylaws, we proclaim that citizen happiness is not incidental, but foundational.